Hey guys, Rebecca Turley here. For this week's lesson on literary elements, I chose second grade, and my teacher objective and Common Core standard is the teacher will ask and answer such questions as who, what, where, when, why, and how to demonstrate understanding of key details in text. So for my review, the teacher will review the different elements of a story by playing a song on YouTube that the students learned last week. So I'll encourage them to sing along since they will already be familiar with this song. And I will show you that real quick. A little bit of it.
Every story has four elements. Every story has four elements. Leave one out, it won't make any sense. Every story has four elements. You gotta have a plot, you gotta have a theme. Don't forget the characters or setting or scene. You gotta have a plot, you gotta have a theme. Don't forget the characters or setting or scene. The plot's gonna tell you what the story's all about. The theme is the message that the author's putting out. You know what the characters are, don't say it anyway.
Okay, so I'll play that in its entirety. It is 1 minute and 42 seconds long. So not too long, but a good way to get the kids interacting a little bit before the start of the lesson. So some questions that I would ask after that are, can anyone tell me what the plot is? And then hopefully the students would say that the plot is what happens in the story. Can anybody tell me what the setting is? And then again, hopefully the students would say the setting is where the story takes place. So I'll do that as well for character, theme, and go down the different parts and just review those with the students. For my overview, my purpose or importance is to improve the students' understanding of literary text and their overall comprehension of literary elements. For my continuity, the past, last week we learned about the different elements of a story. Today we will learn how to ask and answer questions related to the text to demonstrate our understanding of key details. For the future, tomorrow we will learn about and read fables. And then the objective is the learner will demonstrate their understanding of key details in the text by asking and answering questions. So for motivation, I will read A Fine, Fine School by Sharon Creech. Okay. And try to hold this so that y'all can see the pictures. Mr. Keene was a principal who loved his school. Every morning he strolled down the hallway and saw the children in their classes. He saw them learning shapes and colors and numbers and letters. He saw them reading and writing and drawing and painting. He saw them making dinosaurs and forts and pyramids. "Oh," he would say, "aren't these fine children? Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school?" Near Mr. Keene's school, Tilly lived with her parents and her brother and her dog Beans in a small house next to a big tree. On Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. At school, Tilly learned her shapes and colors and numbers and letters. Sometimes when she saw Mr. Keene standing in the hallway, he waved. "Aren't these fine children?" he said to himself. "Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school?" On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, Tilly climbed her favorite tree, and she took Beans on walks and threw him sticks, and she pushed her brother on a swing and tried to teach him how to skip. But on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. Beans and her brother did not like to see her go. "Hurry, hurry, hurry home," her brother called. One day, Mr. Keene called all the students and all the teachers together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Saturdays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Saturday, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Saturday. What about the swings?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene announced, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Sundays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Sundays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all of the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Sunday, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Sunday. What about skipping?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene called everyone together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on holidays too. On Easter and Ramadan and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah. All the holidays on every calendar." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on holidays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, on Christmas, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Christmas! What about Christmas?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene called everyone together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school in the summer too. All summer long, every single day. How much we will learn! We can learn everything. We will learn all about numbers and letters, colors and shapes, the Romans and the Egyptians and the Greeks. We will learn about dinosaurs and castles and everything. We will learn everything." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays and all summer long every single day. But no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, on the first day of summer, Tilly set off for school. "But it's summer! What about summer?" her brother called. And that day, Tilly went to see Mr. Keene. She stood in his office in front of his desk. "What a fine, fine school this is," Mr. Keene said. What amazing things everyone is learning." "Yes," Tilly said, "we certainly are learning some amazing things." "A fine, fine school," Mr. Keene said. "But," Tilly said, "not everyone is learning." "What?" Mr. Keene said. He looked very worried. Who isn't learning? Tell me, and I will see that they learn." "My dog Beans hasn't learned how to sit," Tilly said, "and he hasn't learned how to jump over the creek." "Oh," said Mr. Keene. "And my little brother hasn't learned how to swing or skip." "Oh," Mr. Keene said. But you go to school," Mr. Keene said. "To our fine, fine school." "True," Tilly said, "but I haven't learned how to climb very high in my tree, and I haven't learned how to sit in my tree for a whole hour." "Oh," said Mr. Keene. That day, Mr. Keene walked up and down the halls, looking at the children and the teachers. Up and down he walked, up and down, up and down. The next morning, Mr. King called everyone together. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. King said, "This is a fine, fine school with fine, fine children and fine, fine teachers. But not everyone is learning." The children and the teachers were very, very worried. Mr. King said, "There are dogs who need to learn how to sit and how to jump creeks." What did he mean? Was he going to make their dogs come to school? "There are little brothers and sisters who need to learn how to swing and how to skip." What did he mean? Was he going to make their younger brothers and sisters come to school too? The children and the teachers were very, very worried. "And you, all of you children and teachers, you need to learn how to climb a tree and sit in it for an hour," Mr. King said. "And so, from now on, we will not have school on Saturdays or Sundays or holidays or in the summer." A huge, enormous roaring sound soared through the ceiling and floated out the windows so that everyone in the town heard the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers shout, "Fine, fine, fine!" And the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers lifted Mr. King up, and they carried him down the hallway and out the doors, and through the town, up and down, in and out. And everywhere they went, the people said, "What a fine, fine school, with such fine, fine teachers, and fine, fine children, and a fine, fine principal." The end. Alrighty, so after I read that story, we will start our procedures. So the objective for the procedures is the learner will demonstrate understanding of key literary details through asking and answering questions with 85% accuracy. So for our first activity, we will be doing Story Question Cube. I found this from the Florida Center for Research and Reading. And for this activity, I will be doing it with the class as a whole. So the teacher will use the document camera and the smartboard, and the teacher will have a copy of this worksheet right here that goes along with it, and every student will get a copy as well. And the teacher will roll the cube, the question cube, and whatever question it lands on, she will ask the question to the class, and as a whole, the class will discuss what they think the answer should be, and then they'll record it on their worksheet. So there are 6 different questions, and we'll just roll the cube until we land on each of the 6 questions, answer them, and then fill out our worksheet. So that will be activity 1. And we'll, of course, use the book that I had just read to them, so A Fine, Fine School by Sharon Creech. Then for activity 2, activity 2 is called The Retell Wheel. I got this also from the Florida Center for Reading Research. Okay, so that's what that looks like. This is what the completed wheel will look like. And I'll model how to play this game, and I'll show them this example of the completed wheel so they know what their wheel should look like. The students will work in groups of 2 or in pairs, and they'll have to cut out the 2 different circles, and then we'll put them together with a brad. This is my makeshift brad, so I'm holding it from the back. But they'll have actual brads that they can put it together, that they will put it together with. So the way that this game works is they'll be also using the story that we just read to complete this activity. So there will be a student 1 and a student 2. So student 1 will start out holding the wheel, and student 2 will be the one who is asked the first question. So student 1 will ask student 2, what is the title? Who is the author? And then student 2 should be able to tell them the title is A Fine, Fine School. The author is Sharon Creech. If student 2 cannot, then Student 1 passes it to Student 2, and Student 1 will get the opportunity to answer it. And they'll kind of go back and forth like that, just taking turns. Once the initial question from the top of the wheel, or sheet 1 of the wheel, then they'll start actually rotating to 2, 3. So they'll rotate back and forth, taking turns answering. And of course, if one can't answer it, then they'll pass it to the other. That person will get the next chance to try to answer it. And these are all who are the main characters, where and when does the story take place, what happens in the beginning of the story, what is the problem, how is the problem solved, and how does the story end. So they will play this together until all 6 questions have been answered between the 2 of them. And then that will be the end of that activity. So for my closure, the teacher will remind the students that good readers ask questions. That's how you understand the text that you just read, is by asking and answering questions in detail about the text that you just read. So I'll remind the students that, and then I will play PBS Kids Electric Company video, and I'll pull that up for you. This is really cute. It's Good Charlotte singing a who, what, where, when, why, how song. So I'm going to play that for you real quick. See if I can let y'all see it.
I woke up this morning to a terrible fright. My favorite hat was nowhere in sight, and I need some help to solve this mystery. You see, my name is Joel, and this here is Ben. Hey, he's not only my brother, but he's my best friend. And together with these words, we'll solve this mystery. So help us figure out who, what, where, when, why, how. Who, what, where, when, why, how. Questions that will help us solve this mystery. You see, who was the person that committed the crime? What made them do it? They must be out of their minds. Where did it happen? From behind my back. When? I don't know, but I really miss my hat. Why did they do it? Because they're thieves. How could anyone do this to me? So those are the tools to solve the crime. Who, what, where, when, how, and why. And that's what you need to solve a mystery.
So I'll play that in its entirety, and that is only 1 minute and 37 seconds. So again, another short but fun video. I think that the kids will really enjoy that one. I thought it was pretty cute. Okay. Some questions that I will ask after are, can anybody tell me a question you could ask about a story using who, what, when, why, or how? And I'll probably prompt them to give me some example questions they could ask about the book since we just read it. And I'll give a few students opportunities to give me a few different questions that they could ask. And then we may even answer them as a class if we have enough time. Let's see. Okay, so for homework, I am going to have the students draw a picture depicting a story. So this is kind of, there's no real guidelines to it. I'm going to just tell the students there needs to be a setting and some characters in it. And then for review tomorrow, or the next day, I will have the students present their picture in front of the class and tell the story about the picture that they drew. And then we will review our who, what, when, where, why, and how questions by asking questions about their story. So who are the characters? What is the setting? And I think that'll be a fun way to kind of get everybody in the class involved. And I think that'll be a fun homework assignment for them to be able to kind of draw whatever they want, really. That is school appropriate, obviously. Then for the early finishers, we'll have the students, or these students will work on their homework assignments. So they can go ahead and get started. And also I will provide the paper for that homework assignment. Okay. So this special needs. The student with the reading disability will work with the paraprofessional with a Find School book and the Story Question Cube worksheet. And that will be the same for the English language learners. Then for remediation, the student will work in small groups with a paraprofessional or the teacher to review both the Story Question Cube and the Retell Will activities. The student will review the 6 questions that help a reader better understand the text: who, what, where, when, why, and how. And then for enrichment, the student will complete the Retell Will activity, but they will have a blank will that they will fill in with the answers. Okay, so they will use the book, they'll use a Find School, and theirs will look like this. So there are, it does give you a little bit, I mean, it tells you what you need to write in here, like characters and setting, beginning, middle, end. So these students for enrichment will fill this will in, cut it out, and put it together, and that's what they will work on. So that is it. Thanks for watching.